What's up, everybody? Ryan here. So I want to talk about something a little bit different today, and I'm going to share one of my favorite mangas growing up in the late 90s and early 2000s, created by Hirohoki Araki. And this is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Well, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure deals with Joseph Joestar, and Araki is a massive movie and music fan, so he peppers all of his series in with little tidbits. So we're going to talk about Joseph Joestar, who is the MC of the series, and he is the main one going all the way through this in different variations. Well, Joseph Joestar was named after the Beatles song Get Back. And, well, Dio, clearly, if you haven't figured it out, is named after one of my favorite heavy metal singers and lead singer of Heaven and Hell, Ronnie James Dio. Well, so it's no surprise, being Dio, being based off the singer Dio, but Dio's vampire form that he has in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure could be based off the song I Speed at Night. Well, also, now when we're looking at Dio's design, this may have been inspired after Dio's album Sacred Heart. So another fun one is Arena Pendleton's name is possibly a reference to Clive Nolan's band, Pendragon, but she's also named after the Beatles song Eleanor Rigby. So the author doesn't even try to hide it sometimes. Next, we're talking about Robert E.O. Speedwagon. Well, and if you haven't guessed, Robert E.O. Speedwagon is named after one of my favorite and my mom's favorite 80s bands, REO Speedwagon. So next up, we're talking about Zeppeli. So Zeppeli's surname is most likely named after, well, one of the biggest selling rock bands of the 70s, Led Zeppelin. Also, when we're talking about Zeppeli's allegory about Vikings, that's a reference to Zeppelin's Immigrant Song. Next, we're going to be talking about Tone Petty. Well, and if you haven't guessed it, Tone Petty is a play on American rocker Tom Petty. So next up after Tone Petty, we're talking about Dyer and Strazo. Well, you want to guess who they're a play on? Well, so they're a play on 80s band Dire Straits. Now while recording this, I've got Money for Nothing stuck in my brain. So this next one's a little obscure, but we're talking about Poco. Well, Poco's name likely comes from the California country rock band, well, going by the same name of Poco. So next up we have Wang Chan. So Wang Chan was inspired by the 80s pop group by the same name of Wang Chung, where Araki was a huge 80s fan. Next on the hit list, we're talking about Tarkus. Well, Tarkus is named after the album going by the same name of Tarkus by Emerson, Lake, and Palmer. Now we talk about the other teammate to Tarkus, and we're talking about Bruford. Well, so Bruford is named after the musician going by the same last name, Bill Bruford. Well, Bill is formerly the drummer of a 80s band that we're going to talk about multiple times here, Yes. If you haven't figured it out, he loves 70s and 80s music. Next up, we're talking about Doobie. Yes, Doobie, not Dobby. And this one isn't even a hidden fact, but Doobie is named after 70s and 80s rock band, the Doobie Brothers. So this next one might be a little weird, but we're talking about Page, Jones, Plant, and Barnum. Well, clearly they're named after Jimmy Page, John Paul Jones, Robert Plant, and John Bonham, the four members of one of the greatest rock bands, Led Zeppelin. You ever wonder what that bassy little groovy riff was that you were hearing on the outro? Well, that's Yes coming back again with Roundabout.